Today is February 25th, 2018. It's 2:22 p.m. I'm recording this. I saw Black Panther again for the second time, and what I'm realizing is that my it's like I was getting colds again. I didn't feel as high energy as I did when I saw it the first time. It was like a lower energy. So I think it was quite interesting. But what happened is when I was sleeping, I realized that I was processing heavy energy. Even my children even noticed and said how the people that were within the at this at that movie, that they weren't even as excited, and they weren't laughing as much, compared to the crowd that we were around the first time. So isn't that how interesting how life is? Because we respond to energy. We respond to energy because energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be shifted. It can be shifted at the moment, but it cannot be destroyed. You can transmute through energy, but it cannot die. It just takes on a new form and a new form. So I feel like as if with me sleeping, and I was just feeling this heavy density while I was sleeping, and I felt myself processing through this heaviness while I'm sleeping, because as I woke up, I was like in a trance-like state, and then I realized as I was processing through it, then I started to feel lighter in my body. I feel like as if there is an attachment of a particular energy also that comes through from the movie, because the movie is coming through as an expression of all of the issues that have happened throughout humanity's history as well, when it comes to our colored people, whether they're from the West Indies or from North America, South America, the African continent, and all of that. And so when I look at this from hindsight, and I look at this from a wider perspective, I really feel like as if ancestors were around me during the time that I was watching the movie, because I didn't feel as activated as I did the first time, but I knew I was still processing through some things, because I did start to feel I was irritated and annoyed a bit with certain things, because I realized that those who are I would rather say the word color than black, the ones who are colored and Americans, the Americans, it's like as if they're at a loss with their identity, and there's this anger that comes from them that goes deeper than those who are from the islands, because island people, we are more in a collective energy of the oneness more than the black people in colored people in the United States. I notice a difference because no matter what, even though we may share just the color of the skin, but also we are similar in terms of how we raise our children, how we are creative with what we do. It's just quite different because of the melanin that we have. But then there's still a difference with how we are culturally when it comes to West Indians and Black Americans, in America. Even as myself, as I have observed people on the planet and their response to things, how they interact and how they behave and how they do things. And, it's just different. I noticed that with some, Black Americans in the United States, that they don't seem to have a higher ambition compared to West Indians. They'll have like, they'll tease us and say, oh, we'll have 4 or 5 jobs. And then the Black Americans, they like to blame the white man. It's that blame the white man victimhood thing. And then they turn against each other. I'm not saying that West Indian people don't turn against each other also, but there's just more of this anger that seems to lie within them. And there's some who choose to connect to Africa and some that choose not to. There's some who don't understand. There's some who do. There's some who are not researching into it, and there's some that do. But there's just this lack of connection and this lack of love that comes through at times. And And there's more of like a disempowerment energy that flows as well, or it's not even distributed in a way where it's healthier when it comes to empowerment. It's these type of things. There's less of a support system that comes through. It's like even myself, I've noticed that I have better luck, I would say, or better blessings with people of different other races compared to Black people because of this jealousy frequency that comes across also as well. Um, and once again, that comes from how they're raised, how they're raised, and pitting one against the other and all that stuff and being sellouts to each other. Um, and that was another thing that I observed. And there is less of a teaching of what's going on as far as consciously, what's within the subconscious mind. And every person who has incarnated on this planet, they all need to identify something, or as far as identifying themselves and who they are. And there's always a desire to wanting to know the self and who the self is as far as the self is concerned. There's always a desire to feel love and to be loved. And when it goes outwardly towards getting love from someone or wanting to feel respected, there is something that's missing from within them to remember and to understand that all this love and all this respect to have of the self it has to come from the self first, from you, from who you are. It has to come from who you are, not from someone else. It does come from others once you reconcile those feelings that are within yourself. Even when I notice how some people get all riled up and excited because of the part where it says that they rather die, like how the slaves said they rather die than to be in bondage. And I told my son, I said, it doesn't matter whether someone dies in the physical body, because people think that if you die out of your physical body that you're able to escape the pain, you're able to escape the sorrow, you're able to escape from being in bondage. But guess what? The mental torment, the feelings that are within, the ones that are not resolved, the ones that are holding stronger, the emotions, the feelings, that still exists. It doesn't matter. It still exists. It's still ongoing. It is still within the soul. It's in the frequency. And most people seem to just want to just gun away from it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to understand it. And then I say that when you leave out of your body, you're taking the baggage with you. If you're carrying it within the body that manifests into illness and all kind of stuff, you still are carrying that frequency within you. If you're not shifting in thoughts and feelings and within yourself and what you've experienced and what has happened before in the past, because I know that, even in the movie, they talk about, how they're tuning into the ancestors. You're tuning into the ancestors. And yes, our ancestors are here to help us, but they're also here to heal as well. It just doesn't seem to be coming across strong for people to understand that our ancestors also are of need of healing. They are healing as well. So just because you take on what your ancestors may be giving you messages, you still have to heal. Because even King T'Challa, he realized in the end part of the movie when his dad, when he finally found out what happened, and his dad was ready for him to come home, he said, no, I'm not. I'm coming back to fix this. I'm staying to fix this. Because you see, if he didn't, guess what? Then that means more generation and cycles of children would be coming in carrying that same fucking baggage again. Oh, the white man did this. And then the white man, oh no, I don't give a fuck about the black man. It's the same fucking thing over and over again. And I said, until everyone comes to a realization of the self and what is within the self, then the cycle will not be broken. You see, and that means that every single person has to come to that place for themselves. And that's why I keep telling my children, stop idolizing all these celebrities and people and all that stuff out there, because guess what? They all carrying some fucking baggage, and there's stuff that goes deep within the soul. They don't even realize how many layers it goes in. And 10 times out of 10, anyone who's either a comedian or an actor or a singer, whatever, they're expressing their feelings through their music and their acting and whatever they're writing or writers. or books that are written, there's something that's expressed that's deep within their soul, something that is still unresolved, something that is affecting them. And they may be successful at it, with having receiving money, but guess what? They're still walking around with the feelings and what may or may not be resolved. And then they're taking on also, human beings, what they do, they take on also the feelings of what's happening with their families that's in this lifetime, and also family members who've passed on that they've never met before, because it's all passing on through that ancestral DNA. And it's so important to come to that place within the subconscious mind. Hey, what am I looking at here? What are the patterns that are repeating? And this is so important to understand this, how the reincarnation of the soul exists, and how the reincarnation of the soul is important to go deeper into the psychic of the mind, to go deeper into the psychic of who you are, your family, the friends that you have around you, because usually they say likeness of whatever attracts the other, because you tend to attract the energy of others and things and people, of what shows up from that's within you. That's how it works, you see, because the energy itself, it draws itself to itself like a magnet. And that's why it's important to remember that whatsoever you are thinking, whatever you're feeling, is what you attract to. And that includes people, places, things, events, circumstances, outcomes. All comes from within you. So imagine if I'm drawing, when I say drawing, I mean pulling towards me the experiences that I'm having. I'm demonstrating who I am through others, events, things, and people. Then I look at it from a hindsight, from a huge perspective, how I'm showing up with who I am. I am that I am, that I am, who I am. I am shows up, and spectrums of I am starts to go out there, and it starts to split. It splits up into parts, into pieces. And that means that I am is going to show up in the positive light and what we call the negative, because we need both in order to see ourselves. The dichotomy, the separation, the duality experience, as one would say, the duality. And so through the duality, through this duality of how it shows up, is how I see myself. I can't see myself just as the light. I have to see myself as also the opposite of myself. And so when the opposite and the exactness of me, because either I'm similar or I'm opposing. I'm similar, and I'm not opposing where I'm going against myself. It's just that it comes together as one through both sides. Need both sides. And so how interesting of my observation from seeing the movie the first time, and how high I was in feeling and energy, and children, the same thing. And then the second time, a week later, total opposite. Even the outfit I wore the first time wasn't as high as I wanted to be, because I was rushing and all that stuff. And the second time I was in a better outfit that I liked, but then the energy was different. Isn't that amazing? It's like I notice everything. And still the main message of the movie is still has to do with empowerment, and how we can come together. How can we come together, one, especially through acknowledgement? Because you see, every soulhood incarnates, we desire to acknowledge or to be acknowledged. You see, when we're not acknowledged, and that's why, I talk about when, with people and children having manners, we say hello, greetings to one another. Don't just start out talking to the person without having honor and respect. And, being honored for the things that I do and say, honoring my time, honoring who I am as I honor who you are. And so I look at the overall encompass of the human existence, regardless of the color of skin or gender or culture, is that we all desire to be acknowledged. We all desire to be understood. We all desire to be loved. It's within that DNA. That's the feeling we have. That is who we are. And yes, we do and can and work towards having it within ourselves, but still we are coexisting together. We are all in that same space. As far as I'm concerned, if you're eating, sleeping, bleeding, shitting, pissing, giving birth, whatever the case may be, you're no different than I am. You're no better than I am. I don't care what classification, because when you leave out of that body, the soul gives no fucks whatsoever about the color of your skin, or what body you took on, or what family you came from, or how much money you had, and all that stuff. No. What matters is what's within your heart and soul, and what you're connecting to. Who are you connecting to? How are you connecting? How are you being kind to one another? How are you loving one another? How do you see things from all perspectives and not just how you see it? And how do you still bring it together, even if there's a difference between you and that person? Because people think that, oh, on this journey, you're only to be around positive people, or you're only to be around someone that agrees with what you say. No, that's bullshit. This has to do with coming together in unison with everything and all of life. All of life. Being humble before God. Who's God? Everything. That means if you see the ant walking by or whatever, coming on by or whatever, you acknowledge the ant too. You acknowledge the bird. You acknowledge the tree. You acknowledge the air. You acknowledge the grass. You acknowledge the child, the baby. No, nothing, no one is insignificant or better than the other as long as it is living and breathing. You see? There is a saying that comes from the scriptures again, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. The moment that you start to do something and say something, even if it goes against what you feel or say, put yourself in that other person's shoes or the event that's occurring and ask yourself, how would I feel? Then come back to yourself. Well, if this is how I feel, I'm going to honor me, but I understand where the other person's coming from. That's how we're able to get along. And then when I go into the space of acknowledgement, acknowledgement is also about acknowledging the all there is, acknowledging all of life, acknowledging who you are and someone else. You see, the child, the children, as you would like children to honor you. And when you're speaking on it, give an example. Give an example about it without just speaking it out and just saying you expect this and you expect that. Because you see, if you're not also coming from a space of humility, then the universe is going to bring an experience to you for you to become humbled. So, it's to know how to bring the balance of everything together. If you know you have information to share, share the information. This is how we move things to shift, because oftentimes human beings wait on someone else for something is to be shared, or wait on someone else to do something for something to change. No, the change is now. It doesn't matter where someone else is with something or not, whether they understand or not, because you never know. Then it could be a week or so later that, they have an experience and they remembered something you said because you said it. So no one doesn't have to think that, oh, well, maybe it's nothing, or maybe I'm crazy. You see? So we are to share this knowledge. I think about that movie Lucy, when Lucy was coming into her knowing in how much of the percentage of her brain was coming into a full capacity. And when she contacted, can't remember his name in the movie, the professor, and she said, what do I do with it? He said, well, the most that I can say is, what human beings do is that they pass on the knowledge to their offspring, and then their offspring, goes on through life, and then they get married or whatever, have a child, and then that knowledge is passed on to that child. So now we're shifting knowledge, we're shifting life, we're shifting how we do things, we're shifting through all the elements as we are continuing to ascend and go higher in consciousness and evolving. And as we're evolving, that means that everything that is coming forth within you, it is for you to share and for this to shift. And it's for our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking others, because yes, let's face it, we all came and started black. Everything started black. All things started black. Everything was in the blackness, the void. And as we come through that darkness, we bring the knowledge to light. We bring it forth. We bring it forth into the light. Does it mean that the light is better than the dark? No. It means that we're shining through all of the knowledge, all of the information, everything to what we know, to who we are, everything. We're bringing it forth because we wanted to experience what we know. We wanted to come forth with what we know and making the subconscious conscious. And we are now embodying what we know, because the soul desire to see itself and to know itself in observation. See, by seeing itself through the physical 3D aspect body, okay? Thought, mind, soul, everything connected. And how to do that is that we had to incarnate. And so I say, even though we started and we started to descend in consciousness, understand that even though the information came through with the names being changed, it just gets to be so fucking annoying with people getting tight over names and how the name was and this one. Yes, I understand. We're coming forth with the truth and the knowledge to what was really said. But guess what? The soul desired to understand itself through different names and different ways of interpreting the experiences. So you have the Bible, then you have script, then you have scrolls. We have the Quran. Then we have our ancestors that have passed on knowledge without it even being written. Okay. Then we have those that are tuning into the present now. I am one of them. And so as we're bringing it together, regardless of the names and how it comes forth, what's important is the message. What is the message? How is it flowing through? How is it flowing through to each and every one of you so we can all come through this excitement, this movie that we're creating within ourselves, and how we look at it in hindsight, and how we look at it in the present, and how we look at it from the higher perspective and the lower state of consciousness, because sometimes some of us can only understand ourselves and see ourselves by going lower in thoughts and feelings. That's how it works sometimes. And some of us will understand and remember when we're going higher. See? And it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means that the soul desires to remember itself in many ways, many myriad of ways. You see? And so when I go back to the movie again, Black Panther, and I see how wonderful it is that, we're able to see ourselves, the true self of how it is when it's empowered, and how we are dressed up nicely and we're sophisticated. You see, for me, when I go through certain things in my life, I'm always looking nice. I'm always feeling good because it raises and it lifts my energy. You see, I already know who I am. I don't need anybody to tell me that. And I am just in joy and admiration of the movie coming out and showing how we can go from one stage of the self to the next. Some of us may come in not having, and then we suddenly start to have. Some of us may come in not having, and then we do start to have. In other words, I talk about this in the book, The Have and the Have-Nots. Some of us who are born into wealth, as one would say, or riches. We use that word, riches. And then there's some who come in as poor, and some who have transitioned out still being poor, but they feel wealthy in their heart. And there's some who come in with all the money and they're still sad. They're still unhappy. You see? And there's some who get mad because, the wealth wasn't shared. It wasn't distributed properly. And so we think about how do we bring this to a place where what they call it, socio-economic, I think that's the word, because everything to who we are in this honor, we're not here to save each other anymore. No. So you're the superhero of your life, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your culture, regardless, even something that I read yesterday of a woman who was getting beaten up by her boyfriend, and she was asking for help. And someone offered to get her to come to New York, another person offered for her to come to Washington, and she was getting busted up. I mean, nails broken, broomsticks slapping on her, all kind of shit. And I looked at that and I said, well, not that I want to judge her decisions and choices, but she felt like as if she wouldn't leave to come to New York if anything, unless because she said she doesn't want to go to a shelter. She doesn't want to go to a shelter. And I said to myself, wow, someone prefers to stay getting beaten up and all that stuff than to go to a shelter. You see? And so someone was raising money for her to come to New York or wherever to stay in those circumstances. And when I look at that, I think about how women have allowed themselves to be abused mentally, physically, and emotionally as well. And there are men who too have been beaten and hurt emotionally, physically, and mentally. See? And this has to do with how can I step into that space, my God space, that part of me as the God particle, and take back my power and no longer allow myself, because we're not victims here. We are not victims here. There's always something underlying to why human beings make choices. make choices to where they stay and how they be. And we can keep saying that how, well, this is this one fault and God did this to me and da 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 da. And I know that there's also timing to everything too, but that timing still begins with you because it starts from where you're shifting within yourself. And how strong do you feel that you desire something, to experience something, and to make it happen, and not being scattered with it either. Really, really coming into that true empowerment. And it's like when I think about the movie, that even when I see how the women in the movie, the black women, let me emphasize that the black women, how powerful they were. They didn't need any other tribe to tell them how powerful they were. They didn't need no man to tell them how powerful they were. They didn't need anything. They knew it within themselves. And each one of them, I don't remember the characters' names, but I'm going to say Lupita. When she said that she's going to save Wakanda because it's her country. You see, she was going to do that because she didn't feel that it should be ruled by someone who didn't deserve to have the throne because he was so filled with hate. See? And then the other character, the one that was the main warrior, she decided she was going to stay because she is loyal to her country. But she demonstrated in a different way. Does it mean she made a wrong choice? No, it's just a choice. It is just how she, and you see, and there's a saying that sometimes you got to be closer to the enemy than more than the friend. Sometimes you got to be wise. She used wisdom. And Lupita used wisdom also. And they still ended up working together in the end anyway. You see how beautiful that is, how it shows up anyway. And they honored each other's decisions. And Lupita, at the moment in the movie, she tuned in every time she was faced with something. She knew to go get the flour. She did that. She had no fear. You see, she had no fear. She knew to go and do that because she didn't know who was gonna. She thought she was bringing it to the other king from the other tribe, the other man from the other tribe that's the head of his tribe. In the end, it ended up saving King T'Challa. T'Challa, sorry, if I pronounced the name properly. You see, and that is what it means to live and be creative and be in the now and not in fear. You see, and how no matter what, that even though King T'Challa fought his cousin, he still wanted to save his life because he has a heart. He has a heart. And then the other part of the other man, it reminds me so much of the story how they wrote it as Moses, where the Pharaoh, he hardened his heart so much, still hardened his heart, didn't want to give in to still acknowledge that God is God. And just the same thing, just like his cousin, he didn't want to acknowledge his own feelings and how he was feeling because he was so angry and hurt because he was not accepted by Wakanda. He was not accepted by his family. They left him there. But he didn't want to even go past the thought or the idea that that was something that happened once again through his ancestors. It was his father and his uncle that had their beef. And then he took that anger with him to seek revenge against his cousin and his family who had nothing to do with that. And it's only in that moment when you're experiencing things, if we can just stop for that moment and say, where is it coming from? Why do I feel the way that I feel? How can I heal through this? Because he could have came there and said, hey, I am the son of whatever name he said. I don't remember the names. I don't get caught up in the names. I'm focused on the message. And I want to explain myself as to what happened, how I feel. And it would have probably turned out different. You see, it probably would have turned out different. Because you see, throughout all of humanity's history, it's always, let me kill this person first, then I'll think later. And then it's written all in history. And as it's written in history, all the wars, all the battles, and all the anger, and all of this, blah, 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 blah. That's why I don't go too much into history. Because it's his story. See? It has to do with how that fall of Atlantis started with the masculine, the males, the one in the male bodies, left the feminine, deserted, abandoned, because they wanted to come into their power and They wanted to be in control. They were like, ooh, I'll gain more power because I have all this knowledge and I'm brilliant. We are scientific and all, but turned away. And then that's when the dissension started. See? That's when the dissension started, descending and ascending, descending, ascending, descending. And as we split apart, we didn't realize that what comes together is, in truth, is how it works together on both sides. How we come into alliance with one another on both sides without going to war. I told you, this new age, this age of Aquarius, how I was as Nefertiti, how I am as Nefertiti now, still me. I'm just in another body, reincarnated from that time till now, because we're living it out in the present moment. It's just a blink of an eye. And I was not into wars and battles. And I know I was a warrior goddess. They said it on the cartouches that I also smited enemies. And I said, who is this woman that she smites her enemies? She must have been a man. Yeah, I was a man too. I was just a warrior of my heart. I fought for what was the highest and best. And I didn't take no bullshit then, and I still don't take no bullshit now. And they labeled me as heretic then. And so if they choose to say that now, which I don't feel so, I can just feel the energy like, who does she think she is? But I love her. She's so loving, but she's so bold. She just says whatever the fuck. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. I'm not looking for anyone to like what I have to say, because this is about the truth. Even when the person hears what they hear, ain't none of my business. But the one thing I know for sure, they're going to take that information with them because they already done heard it. What you going to do? Unheard it? No, you're not going to unheard it. You heard it already. And then eventually something will hit you into your heart and soul. And you're going to be like, oh, fuck. I remembered what she said. She was right. It's not about being right or wrong. It just is. It just is. If it is what it is, what it is, what it is, it is so, it is so, it is. Truth is the truth, it's the truth. Because you see, anything else that is not the truth is going to fall off. It cannot hold in that space, cannot hold in the space of where this frequency is right now. So it's going to keep on and on and on. That's all I know. Ain't no stopping any of this shit. No, it ain't shit, but you know what I mean. It's not, it can't. It cannot. The earth is ascending just as much. Like Mother God said, she's taking off her panties. Yeah. She's revealing herself. She's showing up in stronger and more, stance of where she is on the earth with the elements of the earth and what comes forth and eruptions and tsunamis and hurricanes and mudslides. You see, warm weather one moment and cold weather the next. It's all coming together. The duality is collapsing. Everything is coming into its unison and its unity. I don't give a fuck where you are. I don't give a fuck what title you have or what your financial circumstances, because everything is being redistributed, reset. Everything is coming. It's like being reset. Reset. You see? That's what's happening. And so I remember again in the beginning of the book when I uncovered myself with who I am, the book, The Return of the Garden of Eden. And I remembered myself as Nefertiti and all the signs and everything everywhere. Everywhere. It's in the drum loads. There's no denying. My king, Akhenaten, he is the Moses. How that information just popped up again, He is the Moses. He was the one that was trying. So the time span and the age, all that stuff, it's not all the truth. What's important is who we were, the characters of this, Remember yourselves. Seek to know who you were in this time and other times. So it all comes together. See? And still I spoke about the oneness. And still I spoke about universal consciousness. And still I came from that planet. And still I brought forth the truth. And still back then there was war created because of mankind not wanting to face the truth. And so the war that's happening now, which is really not a war, it's just the resistance energy. It's kind of dissipating now because I can feel that. It's not as resistant as before, like 2-3 years ago when I started talking. Even as I'm speaking now, heat is coming through my body. See? So as I look out my window and I see the trees, they're talking to me, and I can feel the energy, and I can feel, how everything is just coming forth with change, because we're now heading into spring where I am. The spring equinox is coming up, and the eclipses that we've been having or have had is what is eclipsing through everything that no longer serves us. And we must face ourselves. We must face ourselves, and we must face the mirrors, the truth. And so again, when I go back to the Black Panther, those powers that he has, the powers that the females have, that's what's coming back. We are coming back with all of our supernatural gifts and powers. But you see, with it coming back, it's coming back with having integrity, not where one is trying to have control over another person and trying to do evil against the other. Or when I say evil, I mean destructive behavior and destructive thoughts. Just like what the character that Michael played. I don't remember the name, so like I said, I don't get caught up in names. And as I stated, he wanted to be acknowledged. And he too got to have a taste of that power. But you see, wisdom is what came through with King T'Challa's sister when she used her brains, and she's tapped into the divine intelligence. You see? So how this was able to come together now is that instead of Wakanda keeping all of the knowledge and the information to itself, it is now being explained and understood and shared to help to empower our brothers and sisters, not to fight against others who don't have the same thing, but to bring it together in peace. See? And so this is what it's like also with twins. Whether you're in the feminine embodiment or the masculine embodiment, one twin may have a certain specific type of power, and the other one, and it comes together where one may have strength, the other one may have what we call weaknesses, which I don't like to use the word weakness, but that's what the opposite of strength is, weakness. What may be weak on one end, the other one is able to come through with strength. Even with my twin, I was always seeing all the time that he has the ability to remote view, that he can see what's happening in the present moment, what you're doing. And it was told to me over and over and over again. See? And both my twin and my divine complement, they're into the feeling of what is being experienced. They can feel it. They may not be able to understand it to its full capacity, and that's where I come in. See, because I'm feeling it with them at the same time as we're going through these experiences together, because that frequency is coming together in its grandest form in a higher state of love. Because that's what it's all coming back to, is coming back to love and surrendering to this love, no matter how it shows up. No matter what, everyone and all things is going to coexist and surrender to each other. It's just that some may be doing it in the physical embodiment, some may not. See? Some may not. And that's just a fact. And so as more and more twins are coming into this grand physical reunion, it is all retemplating the power of love. The power of love. The power of what comes together in unison and unity consciousness. See? Regardless of where one is from. And as we continue to rise in this consciousness, because to me, as far as I'm concerned, there are some people that are just plain stupid, and that's the fact. And I told my kids too, I said, well, sometimes there's some people who are black that are stupid and some people that are white are stupid. Whatever culture, whatever race, doesn't matter. Because you see, even when the character, I don't remember his name either in the character, he's the one that played in Get Out. You know who that is when I say Get Out. And because he wanted to align with the cousin, the one who took back the title, he wasn't tuning in and tapping into what was happening. If he was, then he wouldn't have sided with him. But he was busy desiring to get involved in the wars and battles and to overthrow the world. You see, that's exactly what happened in the beginning. That's exactly what happened. And during that time, tribes turned against tribes. So you're going to blame the white man on that too? And then, of course, once again, as I stated, that we also have the white people who don't want to acknowledge the blackness. There's some, not all, some. And they get all uncomfortable about that shit too. Because I went to see Godfrey on Friday. He was at the mall. And I love his jokes because he keeps it real. He keeps it motherfucking real. And I was observing again when he was making jokes about the racism and all that stuff. And I'm laughing my ass off. And the white people, some of the white people that were sitting next to me, behind me and beside me, they weren't laughing. And I was like, isn't that something? I said they were feeling uncomfortable. They were feeling uncomfortable. And it's not to say that it means something more for them to feel comfortable about it, but it just comes down to that point again, is facing the truth. And now we can let it the fuck go. See? I don't mind if I laugh about certain things, but I just don't stay there because it don't serve me. See? And there's some of them that are still whitewashing the truth and trying to make, who we are look white instead of the true colors. And it's time to face the fucking truth. Everything started black. Mother is black. It's a black mother. That's it. It's a black Jesus. Jesus was not white. Or it's also Yeshua. Okay? Nope. And I will honestly say that most of the characters who existed throughout humanity's history, when I say characters, I'm talking about, specific kings and queens who existed throughout Kemet, also known as Egypt, and all the other parts of Africa, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Africa, whatever, parts of that continent were black, blood clad, and it black. Okay? Some may have been certain types of complexion, may not have been black, but everybody was black in the beginning. When we say black, we talk super ras black. Okay? That's right. And everything is going in reverse. So if anything was taken away, or how I say this, was not given its true honor to what existed, it's coming back. Everything is going in reverse. So if those who have more and you're not really looking out for humanity and fairness, something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. You see? Because everything, and it's all karma. It's all karma. It's all karma. Everything and all things to what has been enslaved, buried, hidden, it's all coming to light. It's all coming into its understanding, into its I call it like when something's blooming, they call it the lotus flower, where it's there deep in the mud, and it's going to come up and it's starting to bloom through that mud, through the darkness, through the sorrow, through the pain, through the anger, through the fear, through the worry. All of that is what is happening. See? And I'm speaking truth here. Because I do talk about the haves and the have-nots, the true have and have-not story. And I look at myself right now as wealthy. Wealthy. Do I have the physical money to experience this wealth and its knowing? No. Because I am always creating. I don't stress over money because it's always coming and going and coming and going because it's energy. It's all energy. I get wonderful outfits when I go out, if anybody sees my pictures and stuff, because of how I feel about myself. And I've always loved to dress up from I was 3 years young. Do I have to go anywhere all the time? No. But this is who I am because I am a queen. I make up my face, I do my hair, I wear my jewelry, you know, because you see all that disempowerment that has come through from religion and different tribes and cultures. You see what I'm saying? The Muslim, the Arabs, and some of the Jews, you know, they want to disempower the females and say she must cover up herself. She's not to wear this. She's not to wear pants. She's to cover up herself and all that stuff. Disempowerment. Again, disempowerment. Disempowerment. And when some of them want to talk about, oh, you're wearing weave in your head and you're not wearing your natural hair, shut the fuck up. That was a part of how we were back in Egyptian times, okay? When we would wear weaves in our hair and the makeup and the jewelry, okay? And we would burn the incense and wear and the oils and take the baths and all these things. All of that is what lifts us up in consciousness. When you are at a certain state of consciousness, when you are elevated to a higher frequency, you'll remember. And if you feel that you're not at that level, shut the fuck up. Okay? You just don't remember. And all of that is a part of that programming to disempower the feminine. See? Because the jewelry, the makeup, guess what? It's made from the elements of the earth. It came forth from mother. It came forth from the information that comes through from the planets. That's why certain planets are way advanced than those who are residing on this earth. See? And I will always continue to speak on what these elements do for the body, because I have already, because they contain certain minerals and substances that help us to stay elevated. And it also blends into the cells of the body as well. You see, that's what it does. That's what it does. That's why we have ear piercings. That's why we wear the jewelry and certain things around the neck, certain makeup and putting this stuff on the face, because there's an element of it, of what it does when it comes to ascending and when it comes to the culture and how it comes through on the planet. Use intelligence. Use intelligence. See? And things that were brought forth from the Europeans as far as coming into separation and being in separation from not being with your true divine love. That's another element of things, you see. But no matter what, the soul is going to bring itself together to where it and who it connects to regardless. But you have to align to that frequency. You have to align to that frequency. You see? Do you see how in the end, Lupita and the king, they came together. They reunited. They came together. He knew he needed his queen to be, he said, come stay with me. Come be with me. See? And she followed her heart. And he followed his heart and he followed his path. See? And they banded together. Together. See? When they were on the edge of the cliff and where he was looking out and they were talking and speaking and how she helped him by telling him that he's the one that is reestablishing what a true king is. He didn't have to follow the same decisions and path that his father did, or his forefathers, or foremothers. No, he created a new path. That is what you're here for, to create a new path. Whatever humanity has done to itself in the past, because we've all been the oppressed and the oppressor. We've all been the slaves and the slave masters. We've been all the colors. We've been all the species. Yes, you have. We started out as evolving as species, okay? The rocks, the stones, the water. That's why we are all one. And as we evolved and evolved and evolved, and we have come to that point where we evolved more as, you know, in the physical human body, we gathered up experiences. Gather them all up now, like gathering the berries. We desire to know ourselves by forgetting who we are. That's what we're up to here. It's like a game of chess. You make your move, I make my move, and we make another move. Does the game ever end? No, chess continues. Some people leave that game, and I've never played chess, but this is the Holy Spirit speaking to me today on this day. Did I plan this shit? No, I did not. But that's how spirit moves me. The spirit moved me to speak about this through the Black Panther movie. I'm just remembering this off the top of my head. I didn't even write this down. That I wasn't because I planned to do this, but spirit just said, you're going to talk. And so we desire to know ourselves through all these experiences. And we had to forget. Some of us came in remembering more. I came in remembering more. I knew there was something more going on here. And that game of chess, I've never played it, and it still goes on. But now what we're doing is that we're embodying the true essence of love. We're embodying what the true divine feminine is and the true divine masculine. We're in this solar eclipse energy still. It may have started February 15th, but it's still going on. And the full moon is coming up now too as well. In Pisces, a lot of emotional flare-ups are going on. So those who are holding on to a frequency of not expressing the self and not, releasing all the emotional baggage, full moon in Pisces will do it for you while you're in the eclipse season, as well as Jupiter and Scorpio is going to be expanding that energy. That's right. That's right. Being in that expression. See? Being in your full expression and reconnecting to that feeling. The feeling that you have that connects you to source. You see, because when you tap into that divine intelligence more and more, and to be into that space of tapping into that divine intelligence, you must be in a surrender state. You must be open. If you're not open, if you're closed off and closed-minded and need to feel that it's only one way, then you're going to stay stuck, and you're going to still keep, your soul is going to keep creating the experience of chaos in your life. And the chaos may show up as death. It may show up as losing your job, losing your home, losing your husband, losing a child. It could be anything. Chaotic. It's chaos. Several people shouting at you and coming down on you. Something lost. You can't find it. And all of a sudden everything's just disappearing. It's just chaos. Chaotic. Because you're in resistance. If you're experiencing that right now, you're in resistance. You're in resistance. See? Because this is about being humble and releasing, letting go, and still standing up for yourself at the same time. See, and as far as when I go to the male aspect, and those are the masculine frequency, because there are some females in masculine energy as well, because at some point you can't separate it. But in this case in point, I'm speaking about those in the male bodies, because almost every male that I'm in contact with, whether indirectly or directly, they're facing things, oh man, like no fucking tomorrow. That's right. And it has to do with listening and surrendering and following your heart and your true path. Many of us are also in a space of where it is time to start bringing forth your gifts and your passion. What is your mission on this planet? What is that blueprint that you have? You already know in your heart what you're supposed to be doing. You already know. I feel some of you already have information that has been led to you to start already, but you're not doing it. You're still like lazy, either lazy or want to blame somebody, blame your twin, blame daddy, blame your boss, blame God. That's the typical human behavior. And hey, it is time to face yourself and to take the steps towards your life and where it's taking you. Because you see, your union, what makes up your union, is everything that could be your mission. Like even with my mission, part of my union, mission with my union is my daughter and her rapping that she does. Besides the fact that I know I'm still going to be speaking and, be an expression of what I'm saying. I know eventually I'll be on TV and radio. I mean, I already go on the radio now and then, and how I'm going to be bringing forth my messages. But it don't mean that I'm just here just to do that. No, I'm here to have fun too. I'm here to be in a true expression of life and love. Coming into these unions is not we're going out to war and battle and constantly whining and pining and not shifting and only focused on one aspect of what this is. It's everything together. So you would know what that is, what brings it together. Being in harmony with yourself and being in harmony with others. Does it mean that you have to agree with everyone with how? Does it mean everybody has to know as far as understanding what your path is? No, they don't have to. Do you have to be in fear of saying you're a twin? No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Why? It's not an exclusive thing either. There's people out there, they're saying that being a twin flame or twin soul, I prefer to say a higher spiritual soul love partner, that it's a secret. No, it's not. It's not a secret. Is God a secret? No. So why would that be a secret? Think about that. Intelligence again. This is about the truth coming forth. Do people have to understand it to full capacity? No. But it's about being in awareness. Awareness. There's a big difference. Being in awareness. Because you see, remember in the scripture it says, if you deny me, and then you're denying yourself, right? If you're in denial of God, if you're afraid to speak up and talk about God and to say that you're a twin, then you are not ready. You're not ready. And what is there for you to fear? What is it for you to fear? What is there to fear about that? What is so fearful about it? If it's the truth, it sets you free. You don't have to be afraid. Be who you are. That part of you, who you are, is always going to be anyway. So what the fuck? Let go. You know, it's like I say this over and over and over again. In order to get to this place where you're in this freedom and joy and blissfulness and everything is just magically working. It's like I got a miracle on Friday and I just surrendered. I told my friend Marcy, I said, you know what? I just surrender. I said, I just, everything Spirit showed me, I have to trust. I have to trust my journey. I have to trust whatever is happening to do with my twin and my divine complement. I have to trust whatever is happening to do with my living situation. I have to trust whatever has to do with my finances. I have to trust. And during the course of this trust, I'm staying in my joy and I'm having my fun. Because people think that being on a spiritual path means that you're supposed to be just, oh, I am here and I am meditating and I'm looking at the walls and no. Being in this space is also about being in your joy. If it brings you joy to be at peace, of course. But guess what? The soul desires to be in movement, shifting, elements of joy, laughter. See? There's absolutely no way that you can expect things to manifest if you're only staying in one set pace and you're not shifting and being in motion with life. See? No, it just doesn't work that way. No. If you're feeling as if you're in conflict with someone or conflict with life or in conflict with the information, if you're in anger and bitterness and fear, there is more healing for you to do for yourself. All roads point to you. Every relationship, every person, everything, it's from you. They're responding to you and to how you feel and how you're thinking. If you don't like what you see, then shift from that. And some people say, I don't know where to start, Sharon. I don't know where to start. Well, start maybe by writing down your feelings to each person that affects you or whatever has happened to affect you and start from there. Start looking into your past lives. Your past lives play a big, huge part into remembering yourself and to healing. If you feel that only one aspect of your life, that if it only involves, say, if you incarnated here and say you were born in Brazil, and if you feel that only in Brazil is where you're to look at, no. Look at and tap into the other parts of the world that you have incarnated, because in other parts of the world, you have collected energy and baggage. So if you knew that you incarnated from Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt, Australia, Ireland, okay? All different parts of the world, because we planted seeds. We were in each part. We incarnated in every section, every corner. We've been all things and everything. Again, I say this. If you ignore any other aspect of yourself and not try to go in further and deeper into it, it's like you stay stuck and then there's more fragmentation. Everything to do with how we are coming together within ourselves and empowering ourselves means that you're bringing all the pieces together. Okay? All of them. You cannot leave it out. Who you are as a child then and now, because sometimes things will show up. Who you are as a child, how it reflects now, how you were as a child in this lifetime and other lifetimes, right? The separation, the abandonment, the betrayal, you know, all these things. See? All these things, everything put together, cannot leave any stone unturned. And that's always the message that I receive from Spirit all the time. All the time. Everything shows up in your reality based on how you feel. Everything. Listen to the messages. Pay attention to the signs and synchronicities or syncs out there. Even when I watched the movie again, I saw 555. 555. You know, and I was trying to capture it on the camera, but I didn't catch it in time, you know, because I stayed focused on what I was watching in the movie, you know, because even when, you know, the discussion was showing about, you know, when the initiation of becoming a king, they had to drink the formula that was made through the flower, and then they connect to their ancestors. And still what happened is that with connecting with their ancestors, they both had to face something that was within themselves, right? And isn't it funny how both of them connected to their dads, and they're looking and seeking approval and understanding from their dads, right? That's what they did. And how ironic, they both ended up making decisions and choices based on what they desire to do and not based on what their father and fathers did, the choices that they made. And that's the thing that I talk about. You know, I said that to my children too, to do with my ex-husband, their dad. I said, you know, he also grew up taking care of himself, raised by his grandmother. His mom did not raise him. And I know that he has underlying feelings and emotions that he has not resolved, and feeling abandoned. And, you know, and he didn't even know what it would be like to raise a family and children, because he did not have that complete, I would say, experience growing up to have his mother and father together. And, you know, even though he was with his father and stepmother, and still there was turmoil there. And so the thing is that we can choose to do something different in our lives, regardless of what your parent may have done. You can step into a space of healing through that, and then making a new choice and doing something different. It's never too late. And because, you know, staying there feeling sorry for yourself and angry about someone, what they did, and angry about the past, even if the person dies, where's it taking you? You're just taking the baggage with you. So even though they said, you know, it is better to die than to be in bondage, you're still in bondage, because you're still holding that frequency and that anger or hurt or pain within your subconscious mind, because that's you. You makes up everything, not just your physical body. It's a misconception. It's a misconception. And so even though when he left, he's going to be like, oh shit, look what I've done. Look at how I was feeling. Look at what I was interpreting from something that was coming forth because of what he saw growing up and feeling abandoned. And then he probably was feeling the love that was really coming from his cousin and his family in Wakanda. And it's too late. See? So now he's going to have to process through his pain and his feelings on his own still while he's on the other side. And that's why it's imperative to check yourself before you wreck yourself. See? In other words, AKA, look into your feelings and thoughts and face yourself with everything, and stop running. Stop running. What comes into true power is surrendering to the self, surrendering to your higher self, surrendering to God, and still speaking up too. Speak up. There's some of you where some of your empowerment involves speaking up, and you know that you're not aligned with someone. Time to go. Time to get out of Dodge. You know that you're not in true alignment with the job that you do because it's boring, or you're being disrespected and you're still taking that shit and taking it and taking it and taking it. Or you're in a relationship where you know that you're really not experiencing true love and you're still staying in that shit, even though you're dying inside. Oh, I got to stay because of the kids. Or I got to stay because I made a mistake, so I might as well just stick to my mistake because I don't know how it's going to look in front of mommy and daddy. Or they spent all this money on the wedding, so I still got to stay married. And you're staying miserable and unhappy. It's crazy. It's crazy what people do to themselves. And in the end, when you end up, when you end up leaving this planet, you're going to just look at yourself and say, it was all you. You made that choice. No one else but you. No one else but you. And some try to run. You can go and try to run and go be in another location someplace else and move to another place, and I'm not talking in terms of those who are being guided to move. I'm talking about the ones that you're getting your messages that it's time to move, but you're still staying there because you're in fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear of this, fear of that. What am I going to do? And then you still, leave and go to all these different places, going from one place to the next place, moving. Like, I'm talking about people who move like every 2 months. You're taking your baggage with you again. You're taking the luggage with you again. You're taking it all with you constantly. You see? Until you face yourself. And if you try to avoid it by running from someone else is going to show up in your space that's going to be just like that person. See? And, as I always kept saying, the veil is thinner and thinner. The veil is thin. Everything is being exposed. Everything is being shown. Everything is coming out into the open. Nothing hidden anymore. So even those males who are carrying that strong frequency of being in power and having control over things, you're starting to lose control. You're starting to lose a grip on life and things. And thinking that you want things to be your way. It's either your way or the highway. And there's some females who are like that too. You want things to be your way or the highway, or you're having a little temper tantrums because your relationships are not working out the way you want it to be because you want your twin to be a certain way or your lover or whatever. Because it doesn't even matter at this point what title it holds. If you're holding on to these tightness when it comes to relationships and how you want it to be, it's not about a relationship only. It is more based now on the spiritual union. See? Because before on the planet, it was all about the physical aspect. Now it's time to tap into the spiritual aspect. What's showing up in the energy? Because, there is about 1 or 2 people, that contact me for readings. And just because I'm telling them what I see, because in energy, if I see what I see in energy, that's what I'm going to tell you. And they get mad and then they give me a poor star rating. You see what I'm saying? And I'm saying to myself, wow, but I said, it's okay, because you see, no matter what, they're going to still have to keep facing themselves. It ain't hurting me. I'm well within my soul, you see, because it's not about just what you see in the physical. If your twin or your divine partner complement is saying certain things, doing certain things, yes, there's a responsibility that they do have to this, but they are acting out what is to heal within you again. And if you want to put timing on it and say, oh, it's been so long and it's been 2 years and I've done everything and that, you're an ego. You're in an ego space frequency with that. You see, because when twin souls come together, it has to be a balanced energy. The other person has to be in their own empowerment and their own sovereignty. See? And you have to be in your own sovereignty. You're not placing timing on it. You're not putting emphasis on whether they're with a karmic partner or whether they are responding to you or not, or how they, all these things, because everything is being shown to you, not only for what you're to heal, but also what's coming together, because the soul is going to bring you together. Either in the higher planes, it's always happening all the time anyway. And if it's in the physical space where you're having some type of contact or minimal contact in some way, the soul comes together so something can break apart in energy with what's being held onto with the soul. And then you separate again. So it's not only saying necessarily healing, but you have to give your body time to clear through some of the stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because you cannot come together in a physical space for it to stay in a more longer time frame if there's still some things to work through the body in healing. Body, mind, and soul, because you're healing your emotional body, your etherical body, your astral body, all of that. You see? And so what'll happen is, as you come into that part where we call the separation phase, which I'm only referring to the physical part of the separation, because you're never separated. I am constantly always getting messages coming forth to do with my twin and my divine come constantly. So I don't worry about nothing, because even if they don't say something to me, don't mean I don't know what's going on. I'm in that trust and knowing, because that's the true connection. And the more I'm in my knowing and in my space and peace and harmony, and I'm living my life in my joy, it's still happening. You see, it's inevitable that everything is going to come together. It's inevitable. You see, but if you put up a resistance of fear and anger and frustration, and what do? You're creating a block. You're creating a block. You see, that's what's happening. So, I recommend look into your chart and see what's coming up for you, astrologically speaking. You see, and study yourself. Instead of focusing what the other person is doing, go and do some research and study yourself and record yourself. Listen back to yourself. Take videotapes of yourself, okay? Before you stay in your lane and do that. Take videotapes of yourself and pay attention to your body. See 333 right now. Ascended masters, confirmation, everything right up right now. You see? And see what shows up. See what shows up. See what, and be an observance, not judgment. Be an observance of how you show up. And if you don't like what you see, then just say, hey, you know what? I don't really feel, and each moment that you're listening to yourself and how you're speaking and what you're saying, the words that are coming out of your mouth, because words carry vibration. Words carry power. And if you don't feel great about the word you're speaking, right? Then change that shit. Change it. Make new words. There's no law there that says it has to be this way. It's like being in that flitty, floaty type of feeling like a child, right? Have no fucks to give, because if you have any fucks to give, then you stay stuck and you stay miserable and unhappy because you're giving a fuck about what this person says and you give a fuck about how this happens, and you just take up all that space all the time. See, there's a difference there. So, just to finish off with the movie Black Panther again. This has to do with the power that comes through Black kings and queens. And when I say Black kings and queens, I'm talking about how it was in the beginning, because we were all Black kings and queens. Some of us were in the demigod status because, there were the demigods, the giants that came forth first. And then as we descended in consciousness and came into another reincarnation and recreation of the earth, which was after the Great Flood, we still had the elements of the divinity and the human aspect as well. So as we have disintegrated some of this stuff and disintegrated the knowledge, we're now bringing back the knowledge, not the same way as it was before. We're bringing back ourselves and attuning into this divine knowledge and this divine intelligence also that's coming through from our galactic families. Our galactic families exist in other dimensions. They're here. They're here with me. I know that for sure. They're with others too. There's people reaching out to me that they're also having, similar contact or different types of contact, but they know that it's coming from the galactic centers, from different planets. Okay? It's usually either coming from the Sirius, Palladian, the Arcturians, so many different planets that we're receiving, because we're all going to be coexisting as one planet. Doesn't matter whether anyone believes it or not. It is so. And so as you are reconnecting yourself, it's like you're bringing yourself back online on a different grid. Okay. But for you to be in that space of being on that grid, you got to unfuck yourself from the old grid. If you stay attached to that grid, you ain't going to feel it and see that shit. Oh, hell no. Heaven no. I change it, bring it back to the circle. See? So as this is happening and we're coming into our true power, things are going to continue to shift with our bodies, going through ascension symptoms even more. I've noticed that even the females, even my daughter has been having ascension symptoms. She's having heat coming through her body. Her throat felt weird, like when you're going to have the flu. Massive headaches. That happened last week. Even my beautician's daughter, Spirit told me to ask her, and she was having the same thing. So, going to the doctor and all that stuff, they're not going to be able to find out what's going on, because this all has to do with what's happening naturally through the energetic fields. And right now, the energetic frequency is getting stronger. It is getting stronger. You can feel it. Some of you may be having more heart palpitations. You might be going to the bathroom more frequently, because that's happened to me too, because my body is processing through things through my colon, my intestines. You may find yourself still with sleeping longer hours, or sleeping less, or not being able to sleep. All a part of the process. You can try and force yourself to sleep or not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's it. And, as time goes on, you may start finding yourself bringing on an attuning to your gifts and your power. But once again, this power is coming back through integrity, not trying to have power over another. That's the reason why Wakanda, why they did not want to share the power, because they were not into wars, just like me. See? So how ironic that the movie itself depicted what is coming into this new age of Aquarius. You see? The knowledge, doing things in a different way, different templating of divine spiritual relationships. Okay, it's just like the template for me is the one female, two males, and some may have two females, one male, 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 female, 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 male. Monogamy, polyamory. Okay, this is a higher state of love, and how it's showing up through the divine, as we are the divine particles. We are the divine God particles that come together, that makes up the whole. But to come to this place where it is embodied in the physical, we must clear through the stuff, all of it. See? And once one part is coming through in more harmony, the other aspect of the self, which is as far as the twin souls, and some, with the twin souls, that means that that other person is also coming into their harmony as well. See? That's it. That's what it is. And it doesn't mean that they're not awakened. They're awakened. Okay? They're awakened, because there are more waves of twins that are finding out that they are twin souls, meaning that they're just meeting, and you may start going through your separation phase, and know, once again, we cannot place it in a relationship box. Okay? I know you get all excited when you want to bring the information to your twin, and you're like, oh my God, look at this. I did that. I am guilty of that. And I realized that it's a powerful energy, and it has to come into balance, and each person has to come through this with their own spiritual maturity. No judgment on that. Okay, this is how the divine shows up, and it's just going to keep on coming with those who are going to keep coming into their divine physical union, because different corners of the earth is templating these frequencies, and as each one is coming together, it's also sending off a certain element, as I see it, to bring other unions together, and it just becomes a grand reunion. And then each one of us are here not only to do with the gifts that are separate between one twin and the other, but also what is coming together in unity between both twins, or whatever templating you carry, for like the divine mission with both, with both. Divine mission together. That's the greater mission. It's not just you alone, because I know some people are teaching that too, that, it's just your own mission. No, it's a combined, once again, combined mission. That's the main mission. I don't usually like using the word mission, but I'm using it for all intensive purposes as what it is as far as twin souls are concerned. It's a combined mission. And I know some people say, I'm only here for mission with my twin, and that's it, and we're not going to be together in this lifetime. No, you are. Use common. Picture me with that picture with the guy where he puts his finger to his head, that black guy. Use your brains. It is not just a mission. Hello, we're in the time frame of this awakening. Okay, you're not going to keep cycling in and out. Almost everyone who's helping for the planet to be raising in consciousness is here. Okay, and there's more coming in, smaller, younger babies. They're all coming in. A lot of galactic babies and galactic children are also starting to come in. And it is also romantic. Yes, it is. It's a great high expression of love that's coming through and flowing through it. Everything that is shifting, everything that is breaking down economically, okay? The socio-economical system is also breaking down, okay? The structures of what relationships were is breaking down. The structure of how families are is breaking down and coming together. You know, what is the true expression of the divine family? You see how when it comes together in alliance, that even in the movie Wakanda, they all were from different tribes and they still work together. No one was bitching and nitpicking over no, I'm the one. You see how they all knew to be in that place of humility and surrender, but they still held their power within themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? Everyone can work together and support each other with businesses and support each other, you know, because it is true. There are black people who don't support other black people with their business. They rather support the white person, and you know, they come up with these sneakers and all these things and praising them like as if they're God, you know. And some people just worship the money like money is their God. But it's not the fact that money doesn't mean something. Money is an energy, but where do you place it in your subconscious mind? What value do you place it? What type of relationship do you have with money? Just as much as what type of relationship do you have with yourself? How do you connect to each other? How do you look past the color of skin and just look at how you're doing something together that's going to be benefit the all? You see what I'm saying? How many of you are setting up something to do with how you're helping one another, even if you don't have something? Or if you do have something, how much more are you giving in distribution of this so that way it's balanced? You see, because when I was back in the new kingdom, which is what's being recreated now, the new kingdom, okay, everyone had a home, everyone had food, everyone had something. You see, there's pictures that shows where the gold was given out and everything like that. You see, and there's so much revelations that I've given in this book how the gold is returning. We're not going to have to go to another country to receive the gold. Ha ha. Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, this has to do with how much you're coming into your true powers. Okay. Queens, you must rise. You must rise within yourselves. I cannot emphasize that enough, how important, how imperative it is for you to rise within yourselves into your true awakening power and bringing all your pieces together. You see, as you can see in the movie, Lupita, she gave her king, she stood by his side. She was his protector. See, she was his protector. And he honored her for the goddess that she is. He honored her for the queen that she is. They already know in their heart of hearts that you are their queen. They know. You see, they too have to come into their own empowerment, whether it's, you know, because there's two different aspects of the masculine. There's the ones that are always saying yes, 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 and they're for others, and they're not empowering themselves, and they want to please their family and please others, and they're not looking into how they're to balance out with also following their hearts and their deepest desires, and also empowering themselves by standing up and speaking up for themselves, taking back their time, spending time with themselves, you know, instead of people all the time. That's how we come into balance. Then there's also the masculine that they're more wanting to be in control of their life and in control of how things happen. And then they try to run and hide from their gifts, or they try to run and hide from who they really love. And it could go for both, but I'm just giving it to you from the two different perspectives. Just like how you have there are different types of females that are also existing out there, where there's some who also disempower other females and hating on other females just because they look nice, and then you have an opportunity, you could look nice yourself too. You see what I'm saying? Or you're, you know, not really coming into the true sisterhood and looking out for one another, you know, or you're not honoring your sister. If your sister says, hey, I'm so and so and I'm doing this, you know, are you supporting your sister? Are you looking out for her? Or are you hating on her, or you're pretending that you like your sister, but you're jealous and envious of your sister? You know, sisters don't do that. Sisters look out for one another. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So, you know, it's all these things, and the gossiping, talking about each other behind each other's back, you know, downplaying and downsizing her. You know what I'm saying? Or just because she doesn't look like you, or she doesn't have the same complexion as you, and you know, it's all the element of all that stuff is what I'm talking about. If you cannot come into a space of honoring each other, regardless of gender, circumstances, sexual preferences also, you know, and all these things. And some people want to bring in their culture and saying, oh, well, if you're talking about me just because I'm black or whatever, you're racist. Or, oh, if you're talking about me just because I'm Jewish, then you're anti-Semitic. Shut the fuck up with that shit too. Okay? It's just so redundant. It's just so boring and it's such bullshit. Take responsibility for your thoughts. Take responsibility for once in your life to how you are creating your life, okay? Because if we keep regurgitating that same energy of what has happened, then that's where you stay. You're going to keep recreating it in your world, in your outer reality. That's how it works, okay? So, because not everyone is experiencing the same thing. Yes, we may know what has happened in history. Yes, 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 yes. Time to move the fuck on. Time to change and to shift things now in the present moment. Time to move things in all of this and how we can come together in harmony and understanding of this and letting go of all these different structures that have existed. Even the religious structure is breaking down also. People who are being tied into the timing, oh, when the sun set and the sun go down. And you can say, oh, you're disrespecting my religion. Shut the fuck up again. Because if I'm in another part of the world and the sun sets, do you think that's going to affect me if I'm on another part of the world? Use common sense again. Again, all of that is programming. Programming. You pay attention to the sun rising and setting. Why aren't you paying attention to the astrological signs as well? And the timing of that and how that affects you. Do you see what I'm saying? People get caught up in all these different customs and religion thing and what you wear. You can't wear this. You can't do that. You can't say this. You can't do that. You're going to go to hell for this. And I even said to God when I was there, I said, well, damn, that means everybody's going to go to hell. How does this work if different people are doing different things and having all these different customs? Getting all caught up in that and not what's happening with the soul. The soul doesn't give a fuck what the color of your skin is, doesn't give a fuck what your culture is, what your religion is, and all these things, okay? Doesn't. It does not. Talk to your soul and see what your soul says, because your soul is always speaking to you. I'm keeping it real, and that's just what it is. So anyway, I just wanted to put all of this together, and I was just not to wait any longer to talk about what my observation is with watching Black Panther. It is the most powerful, exhilarating, thought-provoking, absolutely uplifting, excellence, Black excellence. You see, that is what and who we are. We're to walk and to stand proud. We are to honor ourselves, to know who we are and where we are from. We're from everything. You see, you don't need to have validation or permission from anyone to show you who you are. You decide, you choose. You don't have to keep reliving out the past. You can be in awareness of it, but you can store it now in the Akashic records. Because we are not taking any of this into this new kingdom. You see what I'm saying? We might maybe just mention it now and then, but these new children that are also ascending and the new ones coming in, they don't give a fuck about that shit either. They're staying in the present moment to the new information, new advanced data. Do you think in Wakanda they were talking about slavery? Did you hear them mention slavery in Wakanda? Did you hear them mention about the Holocaust and all these other things that have existed from it? World War I and World War II, huh? Or all those eras of stuff. Did you hear them mention that? No. Am I saying the movie Black Panther is based on everything? No. All I'm saying is think for a moment, okay? Think. Use divine intelligence. Here's where I will give you the greatest wisdom. As you speak something to what you have experienced or what you have read or what you feel you've understood, if it doesn't make you feel good, then why talk about it any longer? If something you're talking about that existed or exists that makes you feel great, notice I said great, not good, then by all means, continue. If there's a certain particular custom or some part of your culture that you've enjoyed, continue. But if it doesn't make you feel comfortable, if it disempowers you, if it makes you feel bad, if it irritates you, annoys you, then you know what to do. And it doesn't matter what mommy, daddy, or anybody else, or anyone in your family, friends, colleagues, government, politics, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's empowerment. Empower yourselves. Know thyself. Believe in thyself. The one thing I remember about myself when I was on this path, and I was in my own little separation from my family, my twin, everybody, all I kept hearing was that I must look to me, look to God, look to the divine, look to source, no one else. And that's where I stayed on that path. I set myself more and more free. You see? When my children say, you're speaking louder, mommy. Yes, I'm speaking louder. Yes, I'm speaking in volumes. I'm speaking in truth because you see, because we have been disempowered for so long. Is this about shouting out where someone is going to be hurt by this? No. Because if you're in your knowing and truth, you will know. Because the lion and the lioness roars. The lion doesn't go, no. The lion and the lioness says, "Roar!" Okay? If you remember, even in the movie, that tribe, when he came to challenge, he said he came to challenge the king. They came in going, hoo, ha, hoo, ha, hoo, ha. It wasn't minimal. It wasn't minimized. No, it was not. It was in power, because you feel that power in your solar plexus. That's where you receive that. You see? That's where it comes forth. No other way. You see? And there's times when the lion is going to be tamed. See? And that's the point when you know when it's time to be still. When it's time to, as you say, be humble. When it's time to speak, and there's a time when not to speak. And it's a time to remember, and then there may be a time when it's time to forget something. When it's time to really, truly let go. Truly, truly let go. Truly let go. You see? And you will know when the time comes. You will know when the time is right. Because we're no longer choosing to be in a place where it's a constant back and forth and forth and back. Just harmony. Harmony. See? Remembering where you're from. Remembering that joy, that inner joy that always has existed within you, that can never be taken away from you. No one can take anything away from you. You see? Even with what happened with those who turned against the author, it still happened on its purpose. When you remember that, you also are coming into more power. When you stop blaming the white man, and the white man that seems to want to not acknowledge the black person, that you don't need acknowledgement from them, that the acknowledgement comes from within you. See? And that we don't have to think about every single person as being an enemy. You empower yourself more. When you stay focused on your path and where it's taking you, no matter what that path is, because you're being guided, that's what you pay attention to. That's empowerment. But the moment you go into that point and talk about and be in a space of separation and that duality experience that has existed on the planet for years, which of course, again, it existed for a reason. It existed as a purpose, because you cause yourself to forget who you are so you can remember who you are. That is the sole purpose. The human purposes have served its time. The physical aspect of the soul has also served its time. And when I say served its time, meaning that the existence of 3D is no longer going to exist. We're going higher in consciousness, higher in dimensions. The dimensions have always been here. You just had to open up your chakras. A lot of you, your chakras are being activated more and more. You think chakras have anything to do with the color of your skin? You think chakras have to do with what culture you came from? And even though things have shifted in terms of species, of course, a lot of things have shifted in terms of species and the DNA. Our DNA is being restructured. And once we are ascending continuously out of this 3D dense body, we're going back to crystalline.